As you guys know, we just mentioned we're doing this as sort of a workshop format. And everybody get the agenda? So we're going to start with Rabbi Marshall with the gratitude meditation. And then Rabbi Amy's going to come in and talk about building our own Haggadah. And then we're going to have Seder music with Julie Aronson and a cooking demonstration with Diane Pacman, and then the personalizing matzah with Debbie. So I want to thank all of you guys for being willing to spend some time with us and pivot. And I want to thank all our presenters. And I also want to give a big shout out to Erin May, who did the graphics and made the words come to life on our invites. Lisa Hirschberg, she's our new membership coordinator, and she delivered all the bags. And to Martina Stern, who is my partner in crime. She and I have made a great team collaborating, and she helps synthesize ideas with me, and we come up with details, and she really implements things. So hearts to you, Martina, thank you. So let me start by introducing Rabbi Marshall, and if you guys don't mind, I'm going to read some of it. Rabbi Marshall, originally from Chicago, she graduated from the University of Illinois with a BS in psychology and was ordained as a Reformed rabbi from Hebrew Union College in 2008. She served as the Hillel rabbi at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, as well as synagogues in Ohio and Long Island, New York, and spent considerable time in the Pacific Northwest, where she served several congregations. These days, Rabbi Marshall focuses on building her rabbinate around creative life cycle rituals and passionately leads women's circles and retreats across the United States. Recently, she led our Sacred Sizzle for a group of TI women, some of you are here, for a 4-month-long program synthesizing body, mind, and spirit. So I would like Rabbi Marshall to begin our gratitude meditation.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's so wonderful to see all of you. Many familiar faces, which is just really sweet, and some new faces too. So thank you to TI for really welcoming me back again. It's such a treat. I'm going to invite us to just create a little bit of sacred transition between the workday and this beautiful circle of sisterhood that we get to share together. So I'm going to invite us to just take a moment to close our eyes, to get comfy in your chair, wherever you're sitting, and take a beautiful deep breath in and let it out. Let's do that one more time. Deep breath in and let it out. And just feel yourself releasing anything that feels heavy, any parts of the day that felt like they didn't serve you or that might have been challenging. Just invite us to feel those kind of wash off of us. And I'm going to invite us to bring into our hearts a sense of gratitude for being able to come together, for being able to get really creative during this adventure of a year, for all of the ways that we have been connected, even when we've been isolated as well. And I'm going to invite us now to just let our eyes gently open and to take your hands and stretch them out so that you're touching the squares that are next to you. And if you want, you can go down, you could go up, you can go to the side.
That's so funny.
Yeah. And now I just want to invite you to look at your screen and feel the energy of all these women. We're not able to physically hold hands. We are able to energetically hold hands and just feel the hearts and spirits of all these women around us. Yeah. Oh, I felt that. It's beautiful. Okay, and now we gently bring our hands down. And for this final part of connection, I've been thinking about how the idea of gratitude and how the idea of freedom are interwoven together. And Passover is such a holiday that celebrates freedom and freedom in all of its forms. And been thinking about how during this past year, we just celebrated like the 1 year of this adventure. And how during this past year, many of the freedoms that we usually took for granted were cut off to us. But perhaps there were new freedoms that opened. Perhaps those of us who had to travel a lot for work were able to not feel so much in the hustle. Perhaps there were ways that we were able to be more connected to folks in new ways that came through for us. So to just connect with some of the freedoms that opened up in unexpected ways. Just think about those for a second. Ways that you felt new freedom in the past year. And then I'm going to invite us also to think about if there have been any whispers in our own hearts, any truths in our own hearts, any ways that we've been feeling called to deepen our own sense of freedom. Maybe that's been from saying no to things that usually we say yes to. Maybe that's been from releasing some of the shoulds that we feel and giving ourselves, claiming a sense of freedom for ourselves by releasing some of those shoulds. Just to connect for a moment at the beginning of our time together and think about if there's a new sense of freedom that's been calling to us this past year, or something that we want to step into more fully. See if anything pops in for us. Those answers are always within, and when we're able to connect with them, it's such a blessing. So I offer us a prayer tonight of gratitude for being able to connect with each other's sweet souls and learn together and celebrate together and be creative together. And also a blessing that this season is filled with new types of freedoms, freedoms maybe that we didn't even imagine were possible. And having the chutzpah, the spirit, and the belief in ourselves and the world that we can create for ourselves to expand into those freedoms in new ways. Ken yehi ratzon, so may it be. And thank you so much for including me in tonight's gathering.
Thank you, Rabbi Marshall. We appreciate your warmth and generosity.
Yeah.
Before we transition to our next presenter, can everybody hold up their bag or their matzah? Please. So cool. That's really cool. Lots of gratitude. I love it. Okay, let's go. All right. I love it. Thank you for doing that. Thank you again, Rabbi Marshall. And I'd like to introduce Rabbi Amy, although she really does not need that much of an introduction. We'll give her one anyway. Rabbi Amy became the senior rabbi at Temple Israel in July of 2009, when she became the youngest woman to become a senior rabbi of a large Reform congregation in history. She was ordained at Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion in New York, where she also holds a master's degree in Hebrew literature. Rabbi Amy has served in rabbinic and educational capacities in a number of communities throughout the United States as well as Jerusalem, and is also a trained musician who tries to bring music into every part of her rabbinate. A St. Louis native, Rabbi Feder became both a bat mitzvah and a confirmant right here at Temple Israel and is proud to serve her TI community. Rabbi Amy's going to start the Haggadah project. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thanks, Stephanie, and thank you, Rabbi Marshall. That was such a beautiful way to begin. Rabbi Marshall and I were in school together, and it's like really a very special treat to be able to have you come and be my rabbi and teach my community. It's really special. So tonight, one of the things we wanted to talk about was recognizing that even though things are a little bit better than they were last year at this time, that still most of us are going to have a very different kind of Pesach than we are used to. And because of that, this is the time to try something new. And maybe that means doing a different Haggadah than you've done before. So I just want to acknowledge that of the group who are here tonight, that there are some of us who have been going to or even leading or participating in Seders for our entire lives. And there are some of us who this is going to be your very first Seder. So what I want to do is really be able to share some teachings that hopefully will resonate with everyone. But the one thing, and I have to make sure as I check on my screens that this is true. So yeah, so the one thing that, that we all do have in common is that this is obviously a group of women. And from the beginning, when we talked about what it meant to have a women's Seder, it was a strange sort of thing, because on the one hand, we recognize that as women, that we are leaders in our homes and leaders in our communities and leaders in our work. And in many ways, we have broken glass ceiling after another, and we have broken the, sort of the rules of what it means to be a woman. On the other hand, I would guess that probably everyone who is in this group tonight, that you are probably the one leading the Seder. And that that this is still something that just falls to us often as the female heads of the household. So it's a strange sort of balance that we're in, trying to say that here we are, we're all feminists, and we all acknowledge all of the beauty and diversity of what it means to be a woman, but when it comes to leading these Jewish ceremonies, chances are we are in charge. So I wanted to make sure that I introduced you to a word. It's a Yiddish word, it's called Balabusta. And it's from actually a Hebrew word, but the Yiddish Balabusta basically means the person who is the head of the house, the mistress of the house. And most of us, we are Balabustas. And the idea of being a Balabusta is that you are sort of expected to be the perfect hostess and homemaker, and you are the fearless and emotional center of your family and your community. And it's your job to make sure that your table is not only full of gorgeous and delicious food, but also full of friends and love and laughter. And that's a lot of expectations and also can be a lot of fun. So before we actually get into the writing or the creating of our Haggadah, I had 4 questions for you as the Balabusta. And after this, by the way, I'm going to share this document with you, so you don't have to take notes if you're a note taker, but just so that you have it all. Okay, so question number 1 is, who will be at your table this Passover? It may be a very different group than before. So I want you to think about, is anyone missing from your table? And what sort of impact is that going to have on you? If you have a child who couldn't come home from college, or a grandparent who is still, in perhaps an assisted living home and isn't able to be out, how is that going to impact the guests at your table? Is everyone who is sitting around your table comfortable reading and participating? We know that there are people for whom the idea of even just reading a few lines is going to make them very, very awkward. And so is that something that you've really thought about, the folks who are at your table? Are there people there who are going to be new to Judaism or new to Passover? Are there people for whom certain foods or beverages will be challenging? And, this is something that we don't talk about all that often in Judaism, but this is a holiday where we drink 4 glasses of wine. And I'm so glad that Naomi is here with her mom tonight. But the reason that we never allow children at the women's Seder is because there is a lot of drinking that happens in this meal. So it's important to just acknowledge that if you have people at your Seder for whom having alcohol present is a discomfort, this is something that we should really take into consideration, or perhaps foods that they if you have vegetarians or vegans at your Seder, there's different things to think about. And also just the question about the diversity of the ages. I know in our family Seder has changed over the years depending on what age the children are. When we've had, years where we have many little children, our Seder lasts about 12 minutes. So don't feel guilty if you have a short Seder. When it used to be my grandfather leading the Seder and we were a little bit older, they were very traditional. And so just thinking about who are the people who you are going to be setting this evening for. So that's question number 1 for you as the Balabusta. Question number 2, I'm going to invite you to think about, and if you wish, to put it in the chat box. You don't have to, but this is, this is a group of people who, whether or not you know everyone yet, I know that everyone in here can be trusted in case you have something to say that is maybe not comfortable always to say out loud. But what worries you about the Seder? I know that for a lot of people, if this is your first Seder, or maybe you always went to your mom's house and this is your first time doing it on your own, or you have new family members or new friends coming, is there something that actually worries you about being the host, the Balabusta this year? So if you have something that you want to share, you can put it in there. I will just share with you mine out loud that this year we are actually, we are going to visit my mother-in-law for the first time in many, many years. This is actually one of the only Seders I've ever not been at home. And so I have all sorts of worries about what it's going to be like to, first to get there and all the travel and then being with my mother-in-law. There's like so many worries that I have about this Seder. So if you have a worry and you want to share, feel free to. Otherwise, just remember that everyone has things that we are worried about when it comes to this night, and you are not alone if you have some sort of anxieties. Yeah, the logistics of getting everything to my Zoom people, absolutely, Ruth. So if you were doing a Zoom Seder this year, that is a huge challenge. We know last year on Passover, Zoom is not always our friend. And when everyone's trying to get on at the same time, it's not always so easy. All right, so I'll invite you to keep thinking about what worries you, where to actually be for the Seder. So Jordan, that's a good question. And I do just want to say this is one of the things that sort of makes me saddest about this year, is that usually in the past, we would have something where people would reach out to me saying they didn't have somewhere to go or that they had an extra place. And this is just because of COVID. We are not yet ready to do that. However, if you don't have somewhere to go, please send me an email separately, because I can probably find a Zoom Seder, even if I can't find an in-person one, just because sort of the weirdness of this time. Yeah, so absolutely. Oh my gosh, Julie, I can't even. I know that everyone's going to help you, but that's a lot of extra drama. Oh my gosh, absolutely. Rabbi Marshall bringing someone new. That's a whole new picture of trying to introduce a new relationship to your family in a Jewish meal. And Diane, that you'll forget to put out one of the dishes. Diane, somehow I feel like no one is going to allow you to forget a single dish. So, but these are all great. I mean, there's so many different concerns we have. So part of saying it out loud is just to sort of allow yourself to let it go. I always tell people that like something will go wrong at your life cycle event and at your festive meal. And sometimes if you the get-go, it makes it a lot more comfortable when it actually happens because you're expecting it. All right, so question number 3. We know that we say, Manishtana halayla hazeh, what makes this night different from all other nights. So I'm going to ask you, why is this Seder different from all other Seders? Is there something, a theme or an idea in particular that you want to lift up this year? And when I show you some of the different examples of Haggadot, of Haggadahs that you can use, there's some great examples of things you can do. But in the past few years at the Women's Seder, each year we sort of bring a different either a different charity to the table or a different idea. And so this is a year where obviously, man, has it been a long year, and there have been so many things that have happened. And this may be a year where you want to talk about something. Maybe you want to talk about political issues. There's a beautiful Black Lives Matter Seder that you can look at. There are some amazing ones that have to do with COVID that I'll show you about. But also maybe this is just a time where you want to lift up some issue like poverty or racism, or just have it be, focused on women. Is there an issue that you want to say is going to make this Seder different? And then my last question for you, and this I think is going to be the one that is going to be the most difficult for all of you. If you are the Balabusta, if you are the one who is the hostess and who is the cook, how can you make sure that this Seder is meaningful to you? Because I think so often we are the ones who are running back and forth from the kitchen, and you're making sure that grandma has her plate, and you're making sure that your kids have their stuff, and everyone is happy. And often at the end of the night, we are the ones who are left feeling exhausted and not having had that beautiful Passover experience. And in so many ways, that's really what the Women's Seder did for us, right? Is it allowed us to have the experience where someone else was taking care of it. I want to encourage you to think about who can be helping you this year to make sure that everything is not on your shoulders. Who can you ask to help you with this? I see, Jan, yes, Mark is going to help you. I'm reading your lips. Yes, make Mark help. He's going to be great. So those are my 4 questions for you, and I want to be time. So what I want to do now is sort of help us shift gears and talk about, okay, what do you really need for your Haggadah and for your Seder? So here's my 30 seconds about the Haggadah and about sort of the whole point of why we do Passover in the first place. We know that we talk about Passover in the Torah, that it's about the Exodus from Egypt. And then in the Torah itself, it says that you're supposed to offer this special sacrifice on Passover. But the Passover that we know is very different than anything that you read in the Torah. The Haggadah, we think, was written maybe around the time of the Mishnah, so around 200 CE, but it's also a text that has never been solidified, I guess you could say. The Haggadah is something that changes over the years. And the whole point of the Haggadah is just to be able to tell the story of the Exodus from Egypt and to make it meaningful for you. And so there's so many different ways that you can do this, but you can't do it wrong. So I'll give you the guidelines of what you're supposed to do, those steps that you're supposed to have at your Passover Seder and in your Haggadah. But just remember that this is not a command from God. This is not a mitzvah that you have to do it exactly this way. And whether in the end you do the Maxwell House Seder or you do the 12-minute, children's Seder, it can still be something that is meaningful and works for you. So there are 15 steps to the Haggadah. And I'm not going to share my screen because I'm going to give this to you later and you don't need to hear it. But the 15 steps, they rhyme actually in Hebrew. There is a song. I didn't ask Julie if she knows this song, so Julie will maybe sing it to you. It's not a very good song, but there is a song that helps you remember all of the 15 steps. But most of the steps are pretty short. It's a blessing over the wine. It's washing your hands. It's eating one food. It's eating another food. The real heart of the Seder is all in one step, step number 5. And that's Magid, the story. That's the different ways that we tell the story of the Exodus from Egypt. And in this one section of the Haggadah, it includes the 4 questions. It includes the 4 children or the 4 sons, depending on where your text comes from. It comes from, we have the 10 plagues in this part where you dip your finger in the wine, the singing of Dianu. All of these things are all about the actual telling of the Passover story. And what makes the Seder so brilliant is that each of them is supposed to connect to different learning styles. So if you're someone like me who learns best through music, I love Dianu and I love anything that I can sing because that's the way you remember it. If you're someone who is very food focused, we have the idea of, dipping your finger in the wine or of all the different symbols on the Seder plate. If you're a storyteller, you love just being able to hear and tell the story. The idea is that it's supposed to be this amazing pedagogical tool to be able to make sure everyone at your Seder table understands the story. But if one part of the story is a little bit better or a little bit worse or a little bit longer than the rest, that's okay because the whole point is just to tell the story. Okay, so last but not least, I'm doing okay on time. So where is Amanda? Okay, so Amanda Stein, the other night, Amanda Stein and her mom, Diane, led a wonderful cooking class of Dishing with Diane. And it was funny because as Amanda did a little teaching and Rabbi Michael are sitting here, we're like taking notes. And I was like, oh, I got to share this when it's my turn on Monday night. So what Amanda taught me and what I learned over just doing, some looking is that the great thing about COVID especially is there are so many online resources now that were not there, even a year and a half ago. So if you want to be able to put together your own Haggadah, there are countless resources to help you do it. So I will send you about 10 different links that you can use if you want to be able to put together your own Haggadah. Some of them are entire Haggadahs that you can just use from scratch. You can print it out, or if you're like Ruth and you're doing a Zoom Seder, you can just share your screen and you can do the entire Seder just using a Haggadah that is online. And some of the examples that I'm going to give you, let's see. So there are some that are particularly good, like Sarah mentioned, what do you do when you have young children? There is a wonderful one that is a coloring book Haggadah. There's another one from PJ Library that is also fantastic for young children that will keep them occupied. But there are some when we talked about sort of lifting up different issues. Like I said, there's one that is for Black Lives Matter. There is an MLK Interfaith Seder. There's a Global Justice Haggadah, a Rabbi for Human Rights Haggadah. Each of these is really excellent and is all sort of based around a certain theme. And then we also have some that are just sort of particularly geared towards certain audiences. There is one that is an entirely secular Haggadah. There is one that is a GLBTQ Haggadah, that each one is sort of geared towards whoever you know your audience is going to be. And the last but not least, in the things I'm going to give you, there are also some possible additions that you can add to your Seder plate, whether it's, you know, having a beet instead of the actual shank bone for your vegetarians, or, you know, whether it's adding something on the plate to represent interfaith families or Jews of color. There's so many different things you can add. The last thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to turn it back to Stephanie, is just for those of you who have not been to our Women's Seder before, just a reminder about the story of the orange on the Seder plate. So this is something that we started doing at the very beginning, this idea of putting an orange on the Seder plate, sort of in honor of women and doing something different. But the best thing about the story of the orange on the Seder plate is sort of the legend around it was that this woman, Susanna Heschel, the daughter of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, that the story is that she stood up at a meeting and someone said, a woman belongs on the bima like an orange on the Seder plates. And so that's how the orange got on the Seder plate. But what I always tell you at the Women's Seder is that that story is not true. And that Susanna Heschel has said, nope, that's totally not what happened at all. It's just sort of a fiction that evolved over time, which should give us the freedom to say, whatever symbols you want to have, if it's not something that your parents or your grandparents or all of the generations before you would have done, if you're interpreting something in a different way, we have the freedom to do that. And I love the story about Susanna Heschel because she still likes the idea of the orange on the Seder plate. Even though the story that began it was not true at all, it still has come to be this beautiful symbol of what it means to try something new and try something different and lift up people like women who don't always get a chance to be lifted up at these sacred times. So I will send you that. Actually, Martina will send it to you to make sure everyone gets it with all of your resources. But for now, I'm going to turn it back to Stephanie.
That was well said, Rabbi. Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, good. That was well said. And it does go back to the beginning when we started the our first Seder, and we did, everything was an orange theme. And Martina, we went out and you found the orange napkins, and we made orange marmalade as our little hostess gift. And weren't our centerpieces oranges? I mean, we've done oranges for quite a while, so it has significance to us, even though it is a fabricated, made up story. It makes it even better. So thank you for sharing that. It was lovely. So let's talk music, or let's listen to music, or let's learn about music through Julie Aronson. We all know Julie Aronson is one of our beloved regular musicians at TI Services. Julie's originally from Miami, Florida. How did you get to St. Louis? And holds a music degree from Florida State University. She was a cantorial soloist at Temple Sinai in Atlanta, Georgia, before moving to St. Louis. But did you know that she is also an expert when it comes to applying makeup? You can follow her on Instagram to get tips and tricks. She and her husband, Rob, that's why she ended up in St. Louis. She and her husband, Rob, shared 2 young daughters. Julie, take it away.
Yes, I moved for Rob. That's right. Expert in makeup is maybe a little bit of a generous term, but thank you for that really sweet.
It looks lovely.
Thank you. So we'll just start with a little Hine Matov, and then we'll chat just a little bit. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim yam yachad הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. You have to start with a little Hine Matov. I think it's great to be with all of you, even if it is virtually. And so whether your Seders with your families are in person, whether they're virtual, it's still so nice to be together. And I think one of the cool things about this year, it's hard to find the silver linings. I know, I certainly feel that, but it's forced us to be more communicative and to be together in a different space. And, you know, it's definitely, it's a little bit bittersweet that we have to do it this way, but at least we can do it this way, right? So I think, you know, when it comes to the music, and I'll go through some music with you that is pretty typical in the Seder, you know, the 4 questions and Dayenu. But, you know, I think feel good music. That's the key, is finding music that, especially if you can, finding music that everyone knows, or at least most people know, or is easy to sing along to. So even if you know, the people around the table or around the Zoom don't know the song, it's easy to either teach or to just pick up really quickly. Mm-hmm. That's one of the great things about some of the songs in the Seder, like Dayenu. That's pretty easy to learn, even if you don't know it from the start. And it's almost impossible not to sing along, I think. If you have little kids, there are Jewish artists that are, and singer-songwriters that write great music for kids, such as Ellen Allard. I'll put her name in the chat just so that in case you want to look her up. She's one in particular that writes great kids music. Ellen Allard. And any Jewish artist out there, you know, whether you have someone who plays music and you're looking for actual sheet music, you can always purchase the sheet music from the artists. If you want to find, you know, YouTube videos of songs, you can find them that way. There are just so many amazing Jewish singer-songwriters out there, including Joni Leeds, who just won a Grammy for her children's album. So that's another one that would be a great children's music person for a Seder. But obviously, my husband writes some great songs. I'm just saying. Can't help it. But I think, like I said, the key is finding music that makes you feel good and brings you back to maybe when you were a kid. But the next one that I want to do is the Shechianu, because I think you have to do that any holiday. But, you know, I think that whenever we make it to a new point in the year, that is definitely something to celebrate, especially this year and especially after just the year that we all had. And hopefully things will continue to get better, and hopefully we will be in person next year, and then we can sing the Shechianu for that. So. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'achiyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'achiyanu v'kimanu Lazman hazeh. All right, so another one that is an easy one to do, Mi Chamocha. And there are so many melodies, tons of amazing melodies for Mi Chamocha. My husband has 2 of them. But I happen to like this one that is by Hannah Tiferet. And you probably will recognize it from services, but this is one of those that is a great one to have fun with, and most people know the words Mi Chamocha, even if they don't know the specific melody that you do. If you want to bring in a new melody, that's always fun, but Mi Chamocha is a great one to get up and dance. So let's do that. All right. You can repeat. No ra, tehilot, oseh melech. Mi chamocha, ba'elim Adonai. Mi chamocha, never b'kodesh. No ra, tehilot, oseh melech. No ra, tehilot, oseh melech. One more time. Mi chamocha, ba'elim Adonai. Mi chamocha, never b'kodesh. So this one, if you like it, is a great call and response with that Norah Tehilot. So that's a great way to get people involved too. I think the more you can get people involved, and especially when it comes to kids, you know, I think Sarah was the one who wrote about keeping kids interested and entertained. Yeah, I hear you on that. There's no hope for me, but I think I think getting kids involved in the singing will definitely help. I know my daughter loves to sing along, the other one not so much yet, but she does like music, you know, and so I think even if you think, well, they're not gonna be able to sing along, they may still really like hearing it. So, and then depending on what age kids you have, maybe you can enlist them to do the 4 questions. I end up being the youngest one at the table besides obviously my children, but it's still a nice one to sing along to, because everyone has either, even if they don't know the 4 questions, they've at least heard it, and it's a very important part of the Seder, of course. So let's do that together. Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol haleilot, mikol haleilot, shebechol haleilot anu ochlin chametzu matzah, chametzu matzah. Halayla hazeh kulo matzah, Shebecho Halelut, Anu Ochlim, She'ar Yirakot, She'ar Yirakot, Halayla Hazeh, Maror, Maror, Halayla Hazeh, Maror, Maror. Shebecho Halelut, Ein Anu Matilin, Afilu Pam Echat, Afilu Pam Echat, Halayla Hazeh, Shetefe Amim, Halayla Hazeh, Shetefe Amim. Shebecho Halelut, Anu Ochlim, Ben Yoshvinu Vein Subin, Ben Yoshvinu Vein Subin, Halayla Hazeh, Kulanu Mesubin, Halayla Hazeh, Kulanu Mesubin. All right. Oh, I'm glad to hear that you like that one, Rabbi. All right. This one, Dayenu, again, a really, really good one to get kids involved. Even if they don't know the verses, the chorus, it's one word. And it's so easy for them to sing along to. It's easy to just get silly with it. Depending on who you are, you might want to do all the verses. We limit it to just the 3 typically. So that's what I'll do for you. But this one is just so much fun. So you kind of have to do this one, in my opinion. Ilu hoti hoti anu mi mitzrayim, hoti anu mi mitzrayim, dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu natananu et hashabat, natananu et hashabat, dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu natananu et haTorah, natananu et haTorah, dayenu, 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 dayenu. You might run out of breath on that one, but I can't help you there. All right. So later on in the service, at the Seder, if you don't forget after dinner, which I admit we maybe sometimes forget until it's almost time to be done. And then we're like, oh my God, we need to welcome Elijah. We almost forgot. Same thing with the Afikomen, although the kids probably won't let you forget that one. But I know we've, on many occasions, almost forgotten to do this one, but it's so important to do. So it's a great one to sing along to. And, you know, there is a little bit of Hebrew, but I think even if you can just la 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 along with it, that always works. And basically any Jewish song, la la la, la la la, whatever you want to do works. Eliyahu Hanami, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Imhero Be'ameyu, Yavo David, Im Mashiach and David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi. So the last one that I'm going to do is one of my favorites, and it's definitely not a part of the Seder, but it's one that I actually usually have done when I've done music for the Women's Seder, because it's so appropriate for this, and it can be so appropriate for so many different events, and that is Debbie Freeman's Lechila. And it's a beautiful song, and it may not be one that everyone sings along to. Maybe they will. For a lot of people, this is a very nostalgic song. Even for me, this is a really nostalgic one. But, you know, it just talks about a journey. And first of all, that is so appropriate for just the Passover Seder. But it is also so appropriate for this past year and beyond. For it's maybe, you know, difficult to call this, what we've been going through, a journey. But hopefully it is, because there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So I think that this one can definitely bring a nice bright spot to your Seder. This is going to be the last song that I do, because I think, just about out of time. But I think I still want to do this one, so we're going to do it. All right. To a land that I will show you. Lech Lecha, to a place you do not know. Lechila, on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing, Lechila. Lechila, and I shall make your name great. Lech Lecha, and all shall praise your name. Lechila, to the place that I will show you. Lesimchat chayim, lesimchat chayim, lesimchat chayim, Lechila. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing, Lechila.
Wow.
So I hope that everyone has a very, very happy time with their families for this Passover, whatever that means, and hoping to just, you know, next year in person.
Mhm.
And I wish you all well, and it's great to be with you, and to everyone's health and happiness over the next year.
Thank you, Julie. That was beautiful. You have a gorgeous voice.
Thanks.
Does anybody have questions? I forgot to sort of interject that along the way. Would you be amiable to put together a list of all those songs that you sang? Hello? You're frozen.
I think I got that. Am I frozen?
You were a second ago.
Oh.
Do you think you could put like just the list of what you did so that, and is
Yeah,
it possible
you
just
want
to
me to
go
put it in
like,
the chat?
yeah, and then can I go on like iTunes and download a bunch of them?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not very tech savvy, so I'm feeling good about this.
you know, I mean, you can find a lot of these songs on YouTube or, you know,
Wow.
iTunes, Spotify, whatever, you know, I
Okay.
mean, it may just be different versions from different people, but you can
Right.
find certainly different versions of all of these.
Well, thank you, because that made this very special.
Pleasure.
Wow. Does anybody else have a
Obviously,
question or
there's a
two?
million Hine Matovs out there, and same thing with Micha Mochas, and you know, so you can take your pick.
Okay. Does anybody else have questions for Julie?
No questions, but thank you for this wonderful program, putting it together. It's crazy to think that we've missed 2 of these now.
I know. Well, we're not missing this completely. This is like a half miss.
Very special.
I was just going to add, and Cheryl Brickman put this in the chat, but that on the second night of Passover, we are showing, you can just get it on the TI website. We're doing a program that is geared towards young families, but it's a very musical Shabbat. And so it has some of the people who Julie mentioned and a lot of people who, you know, who are friends of Julie and Rob's and who are just wonderful Jewish musicians who are putting together a program for us that you can watch. So
Cool.
even if you don't have young children who you're doing Seder with, it's just going to be an awesome musical experience. So Cheryl put that in the chat.
Nice. Thank you. Thanks, Julie. Okay, we're switching gears to food now, because you know that is a very important component for all of us. We're going to talk to I'm going to introduce Diane Pacman. Diane's been a lifelong TI member and recently joined the board of trustees. This is her 17th year at the cooking teacher in religious school and her 8th year as Hebrew teacher and B'nai Mitzvah tutor. Diane is cooking and baking guru and owner of LA Baking and Catering, a business that specializes in gluten-free and allergen-friendly Jewish treats. For the last 2 years, she and her daughter Amanda have been leading the most successful interfaith program in St. Louis, Dishing with Diane, which Rabbi Amy just mentioned, and it focuses on Jewish holidays, traditions, and recipes. Take it away, Diane.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to be here with all of you. So I'm going to do my best to position my camera to where you'll see my food, but you can't see me. And Amanda has tried to help me, but she needs to actually come to my house and do it for me because it's just not working. So I'm going to not, I'm going to not be seen, and I'm going to show you the food. You want to see that more than you want to see me anyway. Okay.
Both.
Thank you. So as Rabbi Amy mentioned, there are 15 parts to the Seder. And the 10th part, which is the korech, is really where we eat our haroset, which we're going to talk about tonight. And you all should have received a little sample of a very different kind of haroset that I made for all of you. So the korech is the bitter vegetable and the haroset together, and they're placed on a piece of matzah and eaten together. It's a sandwich made from matzah, bitter herbs, and haroset. So a lot of you who have done Seders before and have been to Seders probably are very familiar with the traditional apple, nuts, and cinnamon and wine or grape juice, which, by the way, all the haroset that you received are made with grape juice, not wine. I'm allergic to wine, so I don't use wine. So they're all made with grape juice if you have children that want to eat them. So I whipped up some of this just so everyone can see the traditional haroset. So I have pecans in it. Now I've had guests at my Seder who are tree nut allergic, and I've used peanuts because they could eat peanuts. So that was fine. I've also made it without nuts, still totally delicious. So it's apples, nuts, if you can eat them, cinnamon, and grape juice or wine. And I have this really nifty little gadget here that I use to chop my apples. They come out perfect squares, and all the squares are the same size. It's very cool.
Cool.
So that's your traditional haroset. I thought I would make something different that maybe none of you have tasted before. And it's made with dried fruit, almonds, sesame seeds, and wine or grape juice. And I'll be using grape juice. So the first thing you're going to put in, you're going to need a food processor. And the first thing you're going to put in the food processor are almonds. I bought them without the skin. It tends to be a little better, but if you have them with skin on them, perfectly fine. I did find that if you buy the the slivered almonds, they grind up a lot quicker. So, but we're going to put this in the food processor first. It's a half a pound of almonds, and I have a kitchen scale, so I actually weigh mine, but I did measure it out just in case anyone doesn't have a kitchen scale, and it's about 1.25 cups of whole almonds. So
Diane, where do you buy them that have the skins off? Because I've actually blanched them and like taken the skins off by hand, and it takes forever.
oh wow, that is a lot of work.
Yeah.
I bought them at Mound City Nut Company
Okay.
in University City. It's
And it's just blanched almonds?
yeah, they are raw blanched almonds.
Okay. Thanks.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's a lot easier. That's a lot of work.
I'm going to tell you, it's way easier.
But like I said, if you keep the skin on them, that's totally fine. By the time you mix everything up in here, you won't even know the skin's there. So put these in first because like I said, you want to make sure they are ground up, okay?
Your food processor is quiet.
Okay, so they are mixed to where they're pretty fine. I don't know if you could- how's that? Can you see it?
Perfect.
So, and then the recipe calls for 15 dates. And if you can buy them several different ways, you can buy them with the seeds still in them, and they also come pitted. Yeah. So I would, even if you get them pitted, I would make sure that you open them up to make sure all the pits have been removed, because I think they go by a machine, so it's not 100%.
Exactly.
You're going to put all your dried fruit in here. I have different dried fruits in here because I actually ran out of dates, so it doesn't really matter. But if you want to go by the recipe, it's 15 dates and 15 figs. Okay, and then 1/8 cup of sesame seeds. Sprinkle those on top. And we're going to grind all that up before we put our wine or grape juice in. And then it just becomes very coarse. So I'm going to pour part of the grape juice in and save a little bit that I'll sprinkle in as we mix it the rest up.
Diane, I have a question for you. When you make your just regular haroset, do you peel all the apples, and will it taste just as good if you decide you don't want to peel all the apples?
I was just talking to my cousin about that the other day because she was telling me she was going to make haroset and take it where to the Seder she was going to in her pod that they've been staying in. And I said, why are you peeling the apples? It's where all the fruit, the vitamins and nutrition is. Yeah. And I frankly think it looks very pretty with the skin still on. I have a green apple in here and a red one. I think it looks very pretty with the skin on. And I mean,
so much less work. Yeah.
A lot less work. Yes. Okay. So you can always add more liquid to this if you want it a little more sticky, but this comes out just fine. And this is actually more like mortar that you would use building a pyramid than the other one, but it's delicious. It's nuts, your dried fruit, and it makes a good sandwich when you go to make your sandwich with bitter herbs, and it's sweet and it's delicious. And as far as and then the 11th part of the Seder, continuing on this food theme, is the festive meal. So you can eat this during the meal as well. You can also serve it as dessert if you want to. Doesn't have to just be for the sandwich, the Hillel sandwich. And then as far as a meal goes, really anything goes. As Rabbi Amy said, this is your Seder. Nothing is wrong, whatever you decide to do. I either make chicken or sometimes I make a meat dish. I have farfel latkes. I have, I've made a farfel kugel before. At Simis, I love Simis. I think I might be the only one, me and my nephew. It has prunes in it and sweet potatoes and carrots and onions, and it's delicious. So it's really anything that you want. You always have gefilte fish. You can get it in the jar. I buy a wonderful, it's a frozen loaf, and you boil it with onions and carrots, and then you can bake it if you want. It's delicious. You'll never eat jarred gefilte fish again.
Where do you get that?
Simon Cohn's, and I think Deerberg's might carry it as well.
Yeah.
Frozen gefilte fish in a block.
It's in a loaf, and it comes as a gefilte fish regular, or you can also sometimes get it salmon, a salmon gefilte fish, and it's just delicious. You seriously never eat jarred gefilte fish again. So that's really good. And then just to show you, I haven't made a whole lot yet because Passover is still another week and a half away. But for the dishing with Diane the other night, I made banana chocolate chip muffins for Passover. And so that's something you can, my family loves these. They eat on them all week. So and my husband's actually eaten half of the batch that I made. So it's not even Passover yet. So there's a lot of good things you can make. And this year, for those of us who are gluten-free, there's a lot more gluten-free products this year than there has been in the past. So, just enjoy the week. And it's, don't think of it as, oh my goodness, what am I going to eat this week? There's nothing to eat. There's a lot we can eat. And it's a lot of fun. So.
What are the pancakes you talked about?
Oh, farfel latkes.
What is that?
So I take farfel and eggs and some salt and pepper. You mix it all together, and then you can just put them in your frying pan like little pancakes. They are delicious.
Is that a grain or a?
So farfel is just broken up matzah. So you can actually make it yourself if you want, but they sell it in cans and in a box.
Okay. So
And
it's a matzah laka?
Uh-huh. It's really delicious.
Yeah, well, yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah. So I know somebody who never buys farfel. They make their own. You just crumble up your matzah into little bitty pieces, but it's much easier to buy it already in the box.
For sure.
So, yeah. So
Yay.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy your Seders, everyone.
You too. And next year at
Next
Temple.
year, we should all be together.
We should. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? Just me, I'm the big talker. Okay. Thanks, Diane. Happy Passover.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you. So now let's move on to Debbie. She has been a TI staff member for many years. She's very talented chef and party planner and loves adding special touches to each and every TI event. Her personalized matzah has been a hit at TI Women's Seder for years, and it wouldn't be the same without including that. So take it away, Debbie. Teach us how to personalize our matzah. Okay. Hello. Uh-oh.
I didn't want to touch the laptop after I put gloves on. So Martina rushed in. Hi, everybody. I wish I could be doing these in person for everybody, but that's the way it is. That's why you got one in your bag, and hopefully it didn't break. Anyway, I heard somebody ask before if it was icing that I used. It's this. Can you see it?
Forward more. Dolce Fruta. Where do you get it?
In the produce area. It's for chocolate covered strawberries as well. It's really just chocolate, but it makes it simple that it's in this container that you can pitch it instead of cleaning a dish of hardened chocolate. It's very hard to clean up. So it has instructions on here to heat it up, which I did already because you have to let it cool off a little bit or it's too hard to deal with. So mine is already ready to go.
How did you heat it up?
Just in the microwave, 30 seconds.
Okay.
at a time. Are you gonna hold it up?
Huh?
Martina, is that not, hang on, we're
That's
trying to figure
good.
out for you guys to see.
No, you're good.
Okay, so this is a disposable pastry bag, but if you guys want to do it quick and easy, you could use a Ziploc baggie and cut off a corner. You don't have to do it this way. I just have a lot of baking supplies at home. But you can pick this up at Walmart if you want to, or Michael's, Hobby Lobby, any of those places. And you'll look at me putting a tip in there. That's how I get more precise letters. They also sell these there too. But if you really don't care which,
No, we care.
if you do care, then you'll want to buy a tip, and the inside it's called a coupler, and they
Do they sell it
them
all
at Michael's
together?
and Walmart and all that. You can get a kit,
Okay.
yes, or you can buy it late. But otherwise, like I said, if you want to let the kids even have fun, cut a tiny bit of Ziploc baggie off and let them write their own name if you want to, for at your table.
Okay.
It's messy though.
I like what you're doing.
So then you just pour. What's that? This one, yes. So you pour it in your pastry bag like this. The other important part, I want to tell you, whether you're using a Ziploc or a pastry bag, is twisted, or the chocolate comes squirting out all over your hands.
Uh-oh.
And you can see it's kind of already running out of the tip. So it is very runny like. That's why it's important to let it cool off if you can. And I'm doing some names for Lisa Hirschberg for Seder Meal she is doing. So I'm going to do her daughter real quick. And you just print however you want to do it.
Martina, lower the screen, please.
I'll do a couple if you.
Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's much better.
Can you see it?
Yeah, much better.
So
Lucy.
can you see?
Adorable.
So, and the chocolate sets very fast. So if you just leave it alone for 20 minutes, if you want to hurry it up quicker, if you're waiting till the last minute, put a fan on it and it will take care of it. I'll do Sadie.
But my handwriting is nowhere near as beautiful
I
as yours.
know. What are some tricks on that?
Practice. Just practicing. I messed up too, guys. I pitched 4 crackers that I wasn't happy with. So if you play around with it, it's actually fun. You could do designs on there. You don't have to be picky. I think it adds a special touch to the Seder. If it doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be your own special touch that you add to it. And that's it. See how easy? And one container does quite a few of the matzah. I guarantee you one is enough for your whole table that you're entertaining.
Really?
And that's all I have, Stephanie.
Okay, what was the name of the tip that you said to get? You put one in there first, then you put something to cover it up.
So the white plastic part
Uh-huh.
is called a coupler, C-O-U-P-L-E-R.
Okay.
And the silver tip
Uh-huh.
it's just a simple circle. And you
Okay.
pick the size on how fat you want your letters.
How fat is yours or thin?
A 5.
A 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Look out, Debbie. You just never know. I'm going to just start monogramming all kinds of things with chocolate.
Oh, I use this tip also because strawberries are also chocolate covered strawberries. Instead of covering the whole strawberry, you could do the same principle and go zigzags all over your strawberry.
Oh, that'd be
That
cool.
makes it look fancy.
Right.
And you could do it on the top of your macaroons too.
Oh, I like
Can
that.
you show the kind of chocolate again?
I'll put it in the chat.
Oh, that's a good call.
And it's about $3.50. So it's not
Wow.
expensive.
Mm-mm. No, but like you said, that whatever it's made out of, it heats up so it's pliable and then it chills down fast, because we've never had an issue with the chocolate coming off.
No,
No.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, you could tell from the first one I did with Lucy, it's not running.
No, it's perfect.
So it sets pretty quick.
Okay, really cool.
Yeah, but like I play with the chocolate all the time. I've learned to do little swirly things that I let dry on a piece of parchment paper, and I stick them in the top of cupcakes, and it looks like.
Oh, that's pretty. It's a great idea.
Yeah, so just play around with it. But I think it's really cute. I have seen it before where people let their kids, and you can get colored chocolate if you go to a candy store.
Like that Sally or whatever.
Mhm. If you just go there and let your kids write their own names, it is very cute to see
Yeah.
their own handwriting.
Handiwork, yeah. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's all for me.
Thank you. Diane, do you have a good macaroon recipe? Oh, I can't hear you.
Oh, okay, there we go. I couldn't unmute, sorry. I do. Macaroons are not hard to make at all.
See, I thought they would be.
I can give it to Martina and she can email it out.
Yeah, and then we could put chocolate all over it.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Debbie, thank you. Everybody, thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for any of our presenters? Okay, next year, in person at Temple Israel. Rabbi Marshall, you're gonna have to come.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, guys.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Passover. Be safe. Stay
Thank you.
healthy.
Happy
Thank you.
Passover.
Thank you.
So good to see you. May it be delicious.
Yeah, I like that.
Bye.
No doubt. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just dug into that. But I'm like,
Stephanie, you want to stay on for just a moment?
Yes. I will.
Martina, you're gonna have to turn this off if you need it to be off for you to hear better.
Oh, I think it's fine. Thank you.
I have chocolate all over my hands.
Do you need, here.
That was so lovely. Thank you.
Thanks for making it special.
Yeah, so nice.
Yeah. So when we do it in person, it is just this really, you would like it because you could feel the energy.
Yeah.
And we've been doing it for several years. And we've thought about changing the format before doing everything. And then the feedback we get is, no, keep it the same. Everybody loves it.
Yeah.
So we,
Last year was supposed to be our 7th.
Wow.
that was it. Okay.
Yeah. I think though, just for people to be able to see each other and
Oh,
come
for sure.
is really beautiful.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah, really good. Really good.
Absolutely. Rabbi Marshall, when I send out the email tomorrow to everybody, is it okay to just share your website and the
Yeah.
Sacred Sizzle?
Did you get the little blurb that I sent you?
Yes. Yeah. And then, okay.
Yeah,
perfect.
include that.
So just that blurb is great. And if there's stuff in there that you're wanting to tweak in some way, just let me know and we can, yeah. It's great.
Okay. We'll
Yeah.
do that.
I
So
can't
then-
wait. Thanks for including me. It was
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a
very
lovely
much
night.
so. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye, Stephanie. Thank you so much for hosting.
Oh, well. You made me look good. That's all I have to say. You made me look good. But I think it was
Bye.
good. It was a good alternative.
Thank you, Julie, for
Oh,
playing
Julie, your
for
voice
us.
is
And
amazing.
thanks, everybody,
Hey,
for
oh,
being
whoops. Where did my video go? There I am.
Very nice.
I had to check on the
here.
kids.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.